Krishna. Welcome to the Bhagavad Gita class. We are starting chapter 9. And we are meeting after almost over 1 month because I was out on travel. So we will resume our Bhagavad Gita study. Is the audio clear?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Very nice to see all of you. We will start with Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so welcome to chapter 9, arguably the most important chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions that out of the 3 sections of Bhagavad Gita, which is divided into 3 parts, 6 chapters each, which is what our Bhakti Shastri is also divided as, module 1, 2, and 3, chapter 1 to 6, then 7 to 12, and then 13 to 18. The middle 6 chapters are the most important. And in those 6 chapters, further the middle 2, so 2 plus 2 plus 2, so the middle 2 are 9 and 10 are the most important. And in the 10th chapter, of course, up to verse number 11, till the point when Arjun asks the question about vibhutis, about seeing the Lord's vibhutis. Okay. So, let's see. So, this chapter is called the most confidential knowledge, Raj Vidya, Raj Guhya Yoga. And what's the significance of chapter 9? What makes it one of the, or arguably the most important chapter of the Bhagavad Gita? So, in chapters so far, especially chapter 7 and then more so in chapter 8, the Lord's greatness is shown. Specifically, chapter 7 tells a lot of qualities and attributes of the Lord's greatness, how he is the creator, maintainer of the entire cosmic manifestation, both spiritual and material. And in chapter 8 also there is a description of that one should surrender to this great Lord. There is mention in chapter 7 as well. But chapter 8 also talks about remembering and surrendering to this great Lord so that we can cross this ocean of misery or this material world. But in chapter 9, the sweetness of the Lord and his love for his devotees is coming out very strongly and very clearly. And this sweetness, his love and care for his devotees does not come out so or as strongly and as clearly as in chapter 9. So it is the sweetness, the love, and his care for his devotees that is special about chapter 9. And if you think about it, that is what melts anyone's heart. We yearn for being cared, being loved. And similarly, the Lord also yearns for our love. But mainly, we are the most happy when we are loved for by someone. And when we realize that the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna is the one who loves us the most, that inspires love in our heart for him. So that is the strongest motivation for us to connect with Bhagavan. When we realize how much we love him, how much he loves and cares for us. When we realize that, that is the strongest motivation, not how great he is, how big he is. That all falls in the category of either I'm afraid of him because he's great. If I don't do as he says, he will do something bad. He will retaliate. He will, seek retribution. So that is in the domain of fear. Or there could also be things like, oh, he's so great. He has done so much for me because he's so great. The sense of duty and gratitude could be there. But when we realize that he really, truly loves us, that inspires love for the Supreme Lord. So there is nothing like the inspiration of the love of the Lord for us that can motivate our love for him. And that is coming out in chapter 9. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So I will skip. These are slides I have heavily modified from the last version. I'll skip this slide and go to the next one. So significance of chapter 9, I think we covered this. It's the most important chapter of entire Bhagavad Gita, including chapter 10, the center 2 chapters as per Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Please pay full attention, wake up. It's an extremely important chapter. Questions? Yes, Nitin Prabhu.
Prabhu, your screen is not visible.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Yeah. So I'll just show my previous slides. Oops, this is chapter 8 ending. Chapter 9, most confidential knowledge. Raj Vidya, Raj Guhya Yoga. I'll skip this. And significance of chapter 9, most important chapter. Please pay full attention. And if you really, really are waiting for understanding the essence of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9 is a very, very important chapter. So please pay full attention to chapter 9. All right. With that, we will get into the verses of chapter 9. So it is the topmost knowledge. So guhyatamam. So let's we'll read verse by verse and we will move forward. Idam tu te guhyatamam pravakṣāmi anasuyave vijñāna-sahitaṁ yajñātva mokṣase subhat. So everybody has their Bhagavad Gitas in front? Yes? All right, I'll trust you. Yep, you must have your Bhagavad Gitas because I do not have all the verses being shown on the screen. So please have your Bhagavad Gita in front of you. So idam tute guhyatamam. Idam means this knowledge. So Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Lord, so this chapter does not start with a question. Lord Krishna is immediately starting with continuing his description from chapter 8 onwards. So now, after explaining in chapter 8 that how a devotee must always do bhakti of Bhagavan, Lord Krishna is going to explain the motivation or give the sweet inspiration to Arjuna to do the bhakti. Now, bhakti as such, what are the details of performing bhakti are not in Bhagavad Gita. A general description is there of bhakti, very general and very short in few verses. But a very detailed description of how to perform bhakti comes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So that's the fourth book that we cover for Bhakti Shastri, and we finished covering it last year. So Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu will give the utmost details of how to perform bhakti, but I will personally cover many aspects of it in the description of this chapter as per the purports of Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so idam means this knowledge that I am going to speak to you is guhyatamam. Guhyatamam means most confidential. So guhyam, guhyataram, and guhyatamam. So this is the good, better, best, or the three levels of emphasis. Tama means maximum emphasis. Guhyatamam means the most guhya. Guhya means confidential. Okay, so the question becomes, why confidential? So we covered this in 4.3 that Lord Krishna says that calls the Bhagavad Gita as a rahasya, as a mystery, and it is confidential. Anybody remembers why it was called confidential or rahasya in chapter 4? Okay, yes, Ram.
Because people have not read it in sequence and then out of context, and with acceptance that Krishna is God.
Yes, very good. One more point.
And then apply bhakti.
Yes, very good. So that's the one, applying. So reading, first of all, not even read it, very superficial knowledge here and there, just some pockets, not read it in sequence and in context, and not applied. So it remains a secret. So the same principles apply here, that it is the most confidential because, and there are certain more aspects which will be added in this chapter, that how can God be so loving? Can God's love really provide that happiness, that satisfaction that we have been yearning for, everything that is missing in our lives? Simply by doing bhakti of Bhagavan, Krishna, how can all our problems be solved? Is it that easy? No, not possible. It's false. It's all bogus. It is a myth. It's a lie. So these feelings then become a self-fulfilling prophecy, which means that you read Bhagavad Gita with that attitude, it's really not going to work. Somebody asked me to do Bhagavad Gita, or I have to read it, I joined this class, whatever may be the reason, but it's not reality. So it will remain a closed book. So when if somebody approaches Bhagavad Gita with the mindset that it is an exaggeration, we'll cover this point in one of the future slides, then it remains a mystery or a confidential thing. The results are small, not huge, humongous results, tiny results. And then you say, see, I told you, it's all false. My life didn't change. I was miserable before, I am miserable now. So it remains a secret. It remains a closed book. So that is the additional thing that I am mentioning today. Then, idam tute guhyatamam pravakṣāmi, that I am now speaking this, anasuyave, because you are anasuyave means non-envious. And what that means is that one who can put their ego aside. Okay? So, the one aspect of the ego is, I know better than what is there in Bhagavad Gita. I don't need it. But those who are listening or reading Bhagavad Gita, let's say they don't have this. They want to make spiritual progress, or they want to make some progress. They may want to make material progress through spiritual path. That by following this path, I may get something spiritual, but the main thing I want is something material. My life should become better. Whatever may be the case, but love or service to Bhagavan is not their intent. Either the goal is material, or even if it is spiritual, service to Bhagavan or love for Bhagavan is not the end goal. It may, for some people, even be a means, a tool. If I love Bhagavan, I will get something. That is called buttering, or what do you call? Flattering. That I pretend to love you. Once I get my results, I'm out. Then I don't recognize who you are. So all those are aspects of envy or anasuyave. So it is all about me and my advancement. That's all I care about. I don't care about what makes Bhagavan happy, or the fact that he also is yearning for our love. So to give love unconditionally is not our priority. All that is part of anasuyave, or not being envious. One should not have this kind of an attitude. Then, I covered some of these points. Not having full faith or trust in Krishna's words. And then it remains a mystery. And then Krishna says, vijñāna-sahitaṁ, that this knowledge, so what all has been said? This knowledge is the topmost, it's the most confidential, and it is to be understood by those who are non-envious. What they will understand? vijñāna-sahitaṁ. They will understand the theory, and they will have actual realizations in their life. Vijñāna means realizations, results, which will increase their confidence about the theory. So you know some theory, you grasp some points about the theory. Some things touch your heart. Let me do this. You do those things. It produces results. That is the vijñāna. Then it increases your faith in, let me try the other parts of the theory out. And then those also produce results, if done properly. So jnana and vijñāna go hand in hand. If done properly, then you are on the right track. So that is what it provides. Yad dhyatva mokshase ashubhat. That if this knowledge can lead to mokshase ashubhat, one gets liberated from everything inauspicious. Ashubha means inauspicious, which means it provides happiness, eternal, permanent happiness. So, by undergoing the instructions of chapter 9 of this knowledge and applying them, this is what one stands to gain, which is that one gains happiness and liberation from miseries. So it destroys misery. So bhakti is the main topic of chapter 9. So by doing bhakti, one is able to see the destruction of all miseries in his life, even in the present life, not just next life, even in this current life. And experience happiness in this life. Anybody knows the reference? Where exactly this is coming from? That bhakti destroys misery and bestows happiness? Come on.
Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu.
Yes, what are the words?
Kleshagni Shubhada.
Very good. Kleshagni Shubhada. So at the beginning stages of bhakti, at the sadhana stage itself, one experiences kleshagni, that bhakti is the destroyer. Agni means a destroyer, it's a female, of klesha, and shubhada, the giver da of shubha. Like we had Kirtida Mataji, who answered. Kirtida means, her name is Kirtida, means the giver of kirti. Da is a female and she's a female. So Kirtida means the giver of kirti. Similarly, Shubhada means the giver of Shubha, which means the giver of everything auspicious in one's life. Okay, so those are the two characteristics of bhakti described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So, yeah, let me see my notes and see what else. Okay. All right. Now, second verse, 9.2. So in the ninth chapter, the first 3 verses are describing what one can get from bhakti, some of the characteristics of bhakti and what one can get, and the attitude or the mood in which one should do bhakti, or at least read and understand the chapter. So that is the content of the first 3 verses. So characteristics of bhakti are in 9.2. I think this is one of the memorization verses, but I may be wrong. So all of those who are doing Bhakti Shastri should begin memorizing 9th chapter verses. There are many of them. I think this is one of them. Vidya guhyam pavitram idamuttamam pratyakṣāvagamaṁ dharmyaṁ su-sukhaṁ kartum Avyayam. So this knowledge is the king of education and the most secret of all secrets. So again, it is coming as Raja Guhyam. So before that, there is Raja Vidya. It is the king of all knowledge. So it's the topmost or the king of all knowledge. And according to Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, among the 3 pillars of Sanatana Dharma, which is the Upanishads, the Vedanta Sutra, and the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita is considered to be the most important. And the proof, now the Vedanta Sutra is considered overall in general the most important. But since bhakti is exemplified or is presented as the means for making spiritual progress in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita is the most important among the 3 according to Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. And all the basis of understanding Bhagavad Gita comes from Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the mool pramaan, the foundational textbook from where we find all the evidences to support the claims of Bhagavad Gita and to understand Bhagavad Gita in the proper context. Bhagavad Gita verses can have several interpretations or meanings. And if you read, like Bhagavad Gita is the most commented work in our Vedic scriptures. So you will find all kinds of interpretations. So the interpretations which are evidenced or which are supported by Srimad Bhagavatam are the ones that form the foundational basis of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. So Raja Vidya means it's the king of knowledge, and the real king of knowledge is Srimad Bhagavatam, but we understand Bhagavad Gita through the Srimad Bhagavatam. Another thing, a more simplified understanding of Raja Vidya is that Raja Vidya means the topmost knowledge, the king of all knowledge. In today's world, material knowledge is counted as the highest. So things that make our sense gratification better and more in quantity and quality. So, doctors are the highest paid or one of the highest paid profession because they allow us to continue our sense gratification. They remove diseases so that we can continue to enjoy this material world. All other kinds of professions that allow us to do sense gratification, whether it is people who increase our money, those working in the financial sector or this or that, they're all these. This is the category of people that cater to our sense gratification. Bodily sense gratification are the highest paid, and any knowledge that supports that or that provides that is considered the topmost knowledge. But the knowledge of the soul, which provides the ultimate happiness, is not present today in the modern world, in today's world. Bhagavad Gita caters to the happiness or the sense gratification of the soul, for the soul's happiness, not for the body's happiness. And therefore it is Raja Vidya. Okay, then Raja Guhyam. Okay. So it is the most confidential. We already discussed this in the previous verse, Guhyatamam. Then Pavitram, it is the most pure. Now, Raja, the word Raja is not present in Pavitram, but it applies in all the words. So, according to the rules of Sanskrit grammar, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, and this fact that it is the topmost or the most, whatever, Pavitram, Uttamam, it applies to all of those. So it is the most pure. I'm not going to go into the details. Srila Prabhupada has written a very long commentary on this verse, several pages. So please go through that. And one that we will focus on is pratyakṣāvagamaṁ, which means it is directly experienced by you in this life. The results of bhakti, the fact that you are experiencing love for Bhagavan, experiencing Bhagavan's reciprocation of love. You are loving him out of this inspiration that Bhagavan loves me, but not only that, you actually experience back the love of Bhagavan. And that increases one's faith. And then this becomes like a virtuous cycle. You perform bhakti of Bhagavan, you experience reciprocation, you perform more bhakti, and then you experience more reciprocation, and it becomes a virtuous cycle which makes one ultimately a pure devotee. So it is experienced by us in this life itself. We can experience the results of bhakti if we apply bhakti in our life properly. Now, I'm just wondering how much in detail to go into. Pratyaksha. So we get reciprocation from Bhagavan, some reciprocation in our life that increases our faith. And then ultimately, pratyaksha means direct proof or direct something that we can perceive directly. So there are three types of evidence: pratyaksha, anuman, and shabda. Okay. I'll just explain it quickly in case you are not familiar. Like I have this pen here in my hand. I can touch and feel the pen. Okay. If I write with it on paper, it actually the ink flows and I can see the writing. It works. This is a working pen. My hands, my eyes can see the results. That is called pratyakṣ pramaan. So I am able to see that this is a pen, a working pen. So I'm very confident that it is a real working pen. Okay, so that is, it works. Anuman means I deduce something from logic. And so it may not be directly evident to me, but I may see some output or some results about it, and which convinces me. A simple example is, let's say you take some medicine, you have some disease. You take medicine, okay? You are not seeing how exactly the medicine is going inside your body and working and curing you, but you see the result that when I take the medicine, it cures me. So the logical conclusion is this medicine works for this problem. Whenever I have migraine, I have a tablet, I eat it, it goes. If I don't eat the tablet, the headache continues. So many times this has happened. I know that this tablet cures the headache. It's a logical conclusion, though I don't see it with my eyes, how exactly it is working. In the pen's case, I can exactly see how it is working. If it is a transparent pen, I can even see the ink flowing and all those things. That is pratyaksha. Finally, there is shabda pramaan, which is that you just take the evidence. You have no proof, no evidence at all, not even a logical evidence that of something. You just have to trust a higher authority, a higher trustworthy authority to tell you that this is the reality. A very common example that Srila Prabhupada quotes is that a mother is able to tell the identity of a father to the child. Okay, now of course we have DNA testing and all that these days. But apart from that, a trusted authority like the mother is the only one who can reveal the identity of the father to a child. So that is called Shabda Pramaan. And the child trusts simply the word of the mother that this is my father. So that is called Shabda Pramaan. So similarly, many things about bhakti, that bhakti is so great. It can eliminate all misery. Mokshase ashubhat. It can remove all ashubha. It can give happiness. All these things we have not experienced yet. But we have to trust. We have to trust the Shastra. Shastra is that higher authority. And we trust the Shastra and we take steps. So, and then what happens is that when we take those steps, we may not get the full realization, but we get some realization. We get some reciprocation, which increases our faith, and we keep going on till the final level when what was told through Shabda becomes pratyaksha. So ultimate pramaan, this is what I am telling you now, is coming from Tattva Sandarbha of Sri Jiva Goswami. The ultimate pramaan is always pratyakṣa, even though we say Shabda pramaan is the highest. Jiva Goswami takes an opposite line, says actually pratyakṣa pramaan is the highest. For those who have understood these topics before. But that pratyakshata, that direct evidence, comes once we practice bhakti, or when we practice the path based on the faith we have placed due to the Shabda. So the Shabda says, do bhakti. The Shastra, the Shabd in the Shastra says, do bhakti like this, like this, like this, sincerely. We follow that. At that time, we are following the evidence of Shabda. But when we do that properly, then we can even see Bhagwan in front of our eyes. The pure devotees see Bhagwan in front of their eyes by performing the bhakti due to the Shabda. And when they see Bhagwan in front of their eyes, that becomes pratyaksha pramaan. Then it's like the pen. I can see this pen in front of me. Similarly, the pure devotees see Bhagwan right in front of them. Bhagwan is as real for them as this pen is real to me. Bhagwan becomes as pratyaksha to them as pratyaksha this pen is to me. But the starting point of that is through Shabda. But the end result is pratyaksha. So that is the very high level of pratyaksha. But when we start doing bhakti, we do start getting some reciprocation, some evidence in our life of happiness, peace, some experience of the presence of Bhagwan in our life, that yes, before I was doing bhakti, so many things were going wrong, so many miseries were there. After I brought Krishna into my life, things have become so much better. Many devotees who may not call themselves any great devotees, even beginning devotees, will be able to say that. I can say that in my life, and many others can say that. And that is the pratyaksha, the small pratyaksha evidence that they are witnessing in their lives, which increases their faith towards Bhagwan. So it is directly experienced at multiple levels, starting from small realizations to the ultimate realization of seeing Bhagwan face to face. Next word is dharmyaṁ. It is dharma. It is not only dharma, it is the topmost dharma. Bhakti, and plus bhakti is based on dharma as well. So dharma is of various levels. We have varnashram dharma. We have basic dharma. Just lead a dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So lead a dharmic life, a life of piety, of mode of goodness. Then within that, divisions of society, etc. But the highest dharma is bhakti of Bhagwan. I had one slide on the pratyaksha. I'll cover it. And then I have a couple of slides on dharma also. Very quickly we will cover. And it is, next one is that bhakti is very joyful and happily applied. Bhakti is not a torturous process. The process, the jnana marg, can be considered to be full of austerity, almost to the extent of what we would call today as torture. Completely focusing the mind, and in higher stages, not even eating, sleeping, what to speak of eating or sleeping, not even breathing. So extreme penance or austerity, there is no such penance or austerity in bhakti. It's a matter of the heart. It's not a matter of the body or even the mind. Of course, mind has to be applied in Krishna, but that is out of inspiration, not by force. In Jnana Marg, you have to apply the mind by force. In Bhakti Marg, you don't have to, ultimately you don't apply by force. For example, the gopis or the pure devotees of the Lord, they are not forcing their minds to think of Krishna. They have so much love that even if they want to get their mind out of Krishna, they want to throw Krishna out of their mind, they cannot. This is what the gopis say. When Krishna leaves Vrindavan and goes away, in the Gopi, in the not Gopi Geet, in the Bhramar Geet, the song of the bumblebee, when Uddhavji comes and Srimati Radharani says, we want to get rid of Krishna in our minds, but we cannot. In a sweet way, you know. So that is the application of the mind, not by force. So it is very joyful and very happily performed. And the gopis are very happy even in that mode of separation. That's a whole different topic we will deal with some other time. So pratyakṣāvagamaṁ, dharmyaṁ, su-sukhaṁ, then kartum. Kartum. This word is very important, often overlooked. Kartum means bhakti is a verb. Bhakti is to be performed. Okay, it is it is true that bhakti is a state of the mind or the state of the heart, or bhakti is internal. But in the beginning stages, bhakti is to be done. So kartum, that's why Lord Krishna is using the word kartum. Okay. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sri Rupa Goswami says, Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhava sa sadhana bhidha. That bhakti is that, or sadhana bhakti is that which is performed by the senses, which means the action performing senses, the hands, the tongue, and so on. So we perform bhakti by our senses. And ultimately it leads to bhava bhakti, which is all about bhava, which means in our heart. But bhakti is to be performed at least in the beginning stages. It is something to be, there is action involved in bhakti. Okay. And avyayam, application of bhakti leads to eternality. So this is the meaning of this verse. Every word has been broken down and discussed, and Srila Prabhupada has given detailed commentary as well on each of these words. So some points from Srila Prabhupada's commentary I have taken. Pratyaksha. So this is a verse. Bhakti paresha para isha anubhavo. So viraktir anyatra chaisha trika eka kalaha. So this is a very, I'll explain this line. I didn't put the translation directly. So what it means is that this is talking about pratyaksha, that bhakti is directly experienced or directly realized. So what is one realizing? So here in this particular verse, again, Bhagavatam is our evidence or our source for substantiating all these points. So anubhava, par, so there is anubhav, there is experience. What is that experience? Of three things, trika. What are the three things? Bhakti, para, isha, the experience of bhakti, the experience of the Supreme Lord, para, isha, and virakti, anyatra, or detachment from everything else other than Bhagavan. All these things, all these three things, trika eka kalaha, one experiences all these three things at the same time. So which means that by performing bhakti, you experience the reciprocation or the love of Bhagavan. That is the meaning of this bhakti, the first one. You experience the reciprocation of Bhagavan, you experience Bhagavan himself, and you experience detachment from everything else. Anyatra virakti. All these three experiences one gets by performing bhakti. And by performing prapadyamanasya, by surrendering in love of the mind, manasya, of the mind or the man, to Bhagavan, one experiences all these things, just like by eating, one experiences tushti, pushti, and kshudapayoh. If a hungry person eats, with every bite, what is happening? His hunger is getting reduced. It is not that the first bite reduces hunger, the second one gives him nourishment, the third bite gives him satisfaction. Tushti, pushti, kshudapayoh means nourishment, or tushti means satisfaction, pushti means nourishment, and the third one is reduction of hunger. Every bite of food you eat provides all three simultaneously, isn't it? It's not like the first bite is providing one, the second is providing the other, the third is providing the third. No. With every bite, one experiences all three. Similarly, by doing bhakti of Bhagavan, one experiences the reciprocation of Bhagavan's love, Bhagavan himself, and detachment from everything else. So this is the direct experience aspect of bhakti, that one experiences the results of bhakti very much in this life right away. Then there is, I have put a couple of other evidences from the purport on the dharmyaṁ. So what do people consider dharma? In general, pleasing all living entities is considered the highest dharma. In many religions, it is said that, the highest state of being is to serve others. do unto others, do unto your neighbor as you would like them to do to you. This is a very famous sort of a moral code or a way of living. So pleasing all living entities is considered to be the highest dharma. But our Vedas and the Bhagavatam goes one step beyond. How can you please everyone? Simply by Achyuta Ijya. Achyuta means Krishna. Ijya means by worship of Krishna. Simply by bhakti, or in other words, bhakti of Krishna, everyone is pleased. Sarvaharanam, which means everybody becomes pleased by doing bhakti of Krishna. Just like yatha means just as, taror mool nishechanena tripyanti tat skandha bhuja upashakhaha, which means by watering the nishechanena, sichana. Just Hindi mein there is the word sichana. So nishechanena, by watering the mula, the roots. Tripyanti gives satisfaction or nourishes the trunk, skandha, bhuja, branches, and upashakha, sub branches. All these are nourished simply by watering the root. Pranopaharascha yathendriyanam, by putting food in the body, all the limbs of the body, all the other indriyas are satisfied. You don't have to feed separate limbs individually. Just put food in the body, upahara, and everybody gets pleased simply by, similarly, tathaiva, yatha and tatha. There, and similarly, by achyuta ijya, by bhakti of achyuta or Krishna, everybody becomes pleased. So you don't have to individually go and please separate living entities. And therefore, even if you consider pleasing every living entity as the highest dharma, bhakti of Krishna is the way to do it. Just do bhakti of Krishna, automatically everybody is pleased. So bhakti of Krishna is the highest dharma. And then there is this famous verse, Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radhokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. I'm not going to go over this verse. It's a very famous verse. I'm hoping all of you know it. So it is bhakti of adhokshaja is the paro dharmo, topmost dharma. All right. Okay. Then we go to the third verse, 9.3. Any questions for 9.1 and 9.2? All right. So if you have any questions, you are welcome to raise hands. I'll keep going. 9.3, a very important verse. I have several slides to discuss this verse. Now, this verse is talking about doing bhakti. Again, doing bhakti. Remember, bhakti is a verb. So you do bhakti. Now, just to make sure we are all on the same page, how do you do bhakti? Anybody wants to just shout out or raise hands? How to do bhakti?
Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate.
All right, thank you. But little bit more specific.
Those five steps: Nam Jap, and Sadhu Sangha, and the Dham Vas, Mathura Vas, and Srimad Bhagavatam, and reading Bhagavatam, etc. And then Murti Seva.
Very good. So you covered all five, and as you can see, all these five which they covered. What are the five things? Bhagavat Shravan, Nama Kirtan, Mathura Vas, Murti Seva, and Sadhu Sangha. All these are to do. These are the doing. There is all of these involve some activity, associating with pure devotees, serving the deity. You have to serve the deity. Associate is also a to do. Reading, understanding Bhagavatam is a to do. Nam Jap or Nam Kirtan is a to do. And Mathura Vas definitely is a to do. So that is do. Okay. So the point of this verse 9.3 is that those who do not do bhakti with faith, they don't get the result. Okay. So the important point is to do bhakti. Now, doing something you can do without your heart in it, without faith in it. You can do things like many children, when you tell them to do homework, oh my God, it's the most boring thing, and they will just somehow or the other do it. We have all been through that phase. So one's heart is not into it. It is possible to do things without your heart in it, isn't it? But bhakti produces results only when you do it with faith. And the best way to put faith, or the best evidence that there is faith in it, is when you put your heart in it. You only are able to put your heart in something when you have full faith in something. Then you do it with complete sincerity, seriousness, vigor. You do it. You try to do it as perfectly, and you're obsessed with it. You just consider it like, this is it. This is my everything. This is my life. I want to do this as best as I can, not like a lip service, not half-hearted, not anything. So that is when bhakti produces results, topmost results. So the extent to which bhakti produces results, which have been mentioned in the previous verses, is the extent to which we put our faith or sraddha in it, our conviction. We do it with full conviction that yes, this process is just, it works. I know it in my bones. I just have to do it to the best of my ability, and the results will manifest sooner or later. No doubts in the process. So that is shraddha. So the verse is ashraddhadhana purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapyamam nivartante mrityu sansara vartmani. So the first two lines basically are saying that those who do not perform bhakti with faith, ashraddhadhana purusha, those who are faithless, ashraddhadhana purusha, people, dharmasyasya parantapa, in this dharma. Which dharma? The dharma which was mentioned in the previous verse, which is bhakti. In this bhakti, my dear Arjuna or Parantapa, what do they get? Aprapyamam. So in the previous chapters, it has been mentioned that they attain me. In the 8th chapter, 7th chapter, it has been mentioned that one attains Krishna by doing bhakti. Here it is said, if you don't do it with shraddha, or you do it with ashraddha, without faith, then aprapyamam, then you don't attain me, you don't get the result. Nivartante, and they come back. Where do they come back? Mrityu samsara vartmani, on the path of this material, birth and death. So shraddha is very, very, very important. So why do people? So the first two verses have described the qualities of bhakti. That it is, for example, moksha se ashubhat. It gives relief or liberation from everything inauspicious. It gives the highest knowledge. It's the topmost knowledge, guhyatamam. Okay. Would you not like all your inauspiciousness, all your problems, all your miseries from your life to go away? Anybody who wants to hold on to their miseries? If you ask to any group of people, who wants to hold on to their miseries? I don't think anybody will raise their hands. Everybody wants to get rid of their miseries, isn't it? Everybody wants the topmost results, uttamam, and everybody wants everything to be pure in their life, pavitram. Who doesn't want these things? Then the natural question is, if everything is so great about bhakti, why is everybody not a Krishna bhakta? Why is everybody not jumping onto bhakti? What's the answer?
Lack of faith.
Okay, very good. Lack of faith. Yes, that's exactly the next bullet. You got it. Now the question is, so by the way, that's what it makes it confidential. So now the question is, why is there the lack of faith? Bhagavad Gita is saying it loud and clear. So what causes the lack of faith? This is very important to understand. This may be, and many of us feel that, yes, I have been, associated with Krishna consciousness for so many years. And I'm still, not making as much progress as the other devotee, that other Prabhuji or Mataji. Oh, he's making or she's making so much progress. I am not. Many people feel like that. I'm stuck. I am stagnated. Now, there may be other reasons, or many people feel, Arey, some devotees make so much progress. I am not making. I am not feeling the results. And many people don't even take Krishna consciousness seriously. They come to the temple maybe for material benefits. They come and pray to Bhagavan for material benefits. But they know that if they sit in a class, they will realize that there is so much more to be had. Why don't they take bhakti seriously with sraddha?
Mind is playing games.
Okay, be more specific. What kind of game? What does the mind say to make you
Doubtful.
Okay, what doubt? Yes, Shamlila Mataji.
Prabhuji, sometimes we just cherry pick what is quote unquote convenient to us. And if something seems like too difficult, then we're like, Acha, oh, I know, maybe this is like a better shortcut, so let's just do this rather than doing like what is specified.
Okay, but why? Why do
Because
we, if Shastra is saying do X and we do less than X, why?
Past
because
condition.
sometimes
Sorry, Mataji. Carry on.
no, sorry, Mati. Sometimes Prabhuji, it's just convenient to do and to not put in extra hard work. If you think, oh, ye bhi chal jayega, then you just think that way in your own head because of ego or something. I don't.
Okay. Yes, Kirtida Mataji, you were saying something.
Past conditioning, Prabhuji.
Past conditioning. Okay, but Bhagavad Gita is saying here, my point, get the question. So this is something to think about. I'm trying to bring up a point. Bhagavad Gita is saying that by doing bhakti, all these fantastic results are available. Why don't we do bhakti seriously? And Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying you must do it seriously with shraddha. So let us say we equate shraddha to doing it seriously, without doubts or with full faith. With full faith means you do it seriously. Okay. So why are we not doing it? Even though it is being said. So conditioning means what? Like, what does it mean?
We pick and choose what suits us.
Why?
Desire.
Okay,
We
let's
can't attach
go.
food.
iPhone. Oh, Medha Mataji. Is that you?
Because, yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Yes, go ahead.
Because of our material desires, conditioning, entanglements in Maya, desires basically,
Hmm.
which are more than,
Think.
bhakti.
I know I'm trying to get an answer which is in my head. By the way, in my head, it is coming from Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So, hold on. So I want you to think and contemplate as to what may be the cause of one not taking bhakti seriously, even though such wonderful results are being promised. Yes, Meera Mataji.
So no, okay.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Medha Mataji. You want?
No sadhu sangha.
Okay. All right. Yes, Meera Mataji, did you want to say something?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So one, I was thinking just very strong attachments. I know what's good for me, but I'm not able to, let go of the attachment to enjoy something. And two is maybe things are going not so bad in my life right now. So yeah, I know bhakti is important, but theek hai, chal jayega type of mentality. I don't know.
Okay. So everybody be in this thought conversation in your mind. Why? Some of you said attachments or conditioning. Let me give an example. Okay. Let's say one is very attached to smoking. Okay. I'll give just a very obvious example, hackneyed example, but still it conveys the point. Let's say one is attached to smoking. Then you have lung cancer. It has been diagnosed that you have got lung cancer. The doctor says that, you have to give up smoking. And now you know that you are in a miserable condition. And if you don't give up that attachment, you're heading towards more trouble. So the doctor says that you will get cured, but you got to stop smoking. Then in that case, I am assuming any reasonable person will stop smoking. All right. So the attachment is, now some people may still smoke. Okay. I'm not talking about that. But for those who can, analyze and realize the gravity of the situation and have faith in the doctor's words, will stop smoking. So similarly, what is the problem in our life? Our attachments are like our cigarettes. Why can't we give it up? Bhagavad Gita is telling. Yes, Ragatmika Mataji. Rajvidya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I think, is it the free will that we have that always pulls us towards our desires and choices? And we feel that, yeah, I can do this.
Do it nicely as the Bhagavad Gita says. The free will tells us also, hey, listen to the doctor, stop smoking. If out of your free will, you can continue smoking, but one would be a fool to continue smoking, even though it is being said. So what is the problem in free wills making the wrong choice? Why is the free will, or why are you misusing the free will and making the wrong choice? Okay, just last two and we will continue forward. But this is a very important question to think about. And maybe our progress in bhakti is being stopped because of this question. So that's why I'm spending time on this. Yes, Damodar Krishna Prabhu.
Maybe, Prabhu, two reasons. Maybe we don't have faith on Bhagavad Gita. Second, we think that we are not in that condition, like what Bhagavad Gita is talking about Arjuna. So we think that we are not in the same position as Arjuna. So it does not apply to me.
Okay. So one of the things was the devotee Meera Mataji said, maybe I'm not suffering that much. So yes, that part is there. Other thing that you said is we don't have faith in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Yes, Shamlila Mataji, I thought you raised your hand.
Yes, Prabhuji, I was also going for like that sense of urgency. Like if you hear from a doctor that, oh, if you don't do this, you're going to die, that's like a pretty big,
He created
like non-abstract sense of urgency there versus we may think that, oh, we are not in Arjun space or we are in a rather comfortable space in life. So what is the urgency to push ourselves into doing something?
The question even more, those people who are suffering materially with so many things, whether it is whatever, relationships, health, wealth, so many things. Not every suffering person takes to Krishna Bhakti. Yes, it is hard for the not suffering, the happy people. Bhoga Aishwarya Prasaktanam Yatha. Even I don't remember the KVMs.
Paharata Chetasam.
Bhoga Aishwarya Prasaktanam Chetasam Vyavasayatmika Buddhi Samadha. Everybody who didn't do the KVMs properly, you can feel good. Your teacher also doesn't. But anyway, I used to remember when I gave the test. I remember now also little bit of. Anyway, so all those people who are misery stricken, they also don't take Krishna Bhakti seriously. Many of them, at least they should take.
Probably asat sang.
Okay, we will continue. So yes,
I have a question here. How much of a part does Hriday Dorbalyam and like Asat Trishna play in this?
A big part. And the question is why? Why are we not able to conquer Asat Trishna and Hriday Dorbalyam? That would be the question, counter question. Yes, those play a part. One may have Hriday Durbalta, I want to smoke. You know, you didn't smoke for a week and then you met your best friend with whom you used to go smoke. Now you meet him and now Hriday Durbalta takes over and you, Are chalo aaj, today we will do one smoke and, you know, hopefully it won't kill me. That is Hriday Durbalta. But the question is, why can't you be strong in that moment and trust the doctor that even one cigarette is going to destroy the effects of the whole week of medicines you took? Anyway, you want to end. Yes.
Ignorance.
Ignorance of what?
Ignorance of who we are, ignorance of the knowledge, the higher knowledge.
Sure. Yes. Okay, last 2 points and then we'll move forward. Sukumar Prabhu, Nitin Prabhu, and then we'll move.
So yeah, Prabhuji, I was thinking like because we don't have that taste of bhakti, so first one that, and the other one, as Damodar Krishna Prabhu said, we don't have that urgency. So maybe those points can.
Okay. Then there was one more hand. I forgot who what it was.
Yeah, Prabhuji. So
Yes.
is it also that there is no pratyakṣ pramaan for this? We have read it as Shabd pramaan, but we have not seen anybody who comes back and tells us that, you know, I did this, so I reached here versus I did reach the lower planets.
Okay, so that maybe connects to some amount of sadhu and lack of sadhu sangha, because there are people who have experienced it. And it goes back to the root question that, so it's not true that there are nobody. There are people, devotees have experienced. You don't need to be Srila Prabhupada to tell you that. Even, you know, more, I would say, as they say, less exalted devotees than Srila Prabhupada will also confirm that they have seen immense benefit. Okay, we'll move on, okay? Yeah, all right. So Surya Prabhu, we'll go to you. Shamlila Mataji, anything like super urgent or?
No, Prabhuji, I was thinking maybe we just think it's all exaggerated.
Okay. Yes, Surya Prabhu.
Yeah, Mataji. If karma is the reason for all the suffering, right? So it always outweighs the faith. So that is where we lose the balance. Say we pray for 1 week and then there is no change in suffering or pain. And then the brain says, well, I'm doing my duty and there is no change, right? So whenever there is a imbalance there, faith decreases.
Okay. Okay. So we don't experience results within the time frame we expect. So we lose faith. That's what you're saying. Okay. So by the way, many of the answers that we'll move on. Okay. We really should move on. So all the answers that were mentioned were correct, but there's an important point I want to focus on. Okay. So it doesn't mean that all the answers that you gave were wrong and this is the right answer, and full points to somebody who gave the answer and 0 points to. It's not a quiz. It's not any kind of a race. All those are factors, but I just want to mention a very important factor. I think 1 or 2 devotees mentioned it. I think, if I remember correctly, Shyamlila Mataji and Damodar Krishna Prabhu both mentioned this point. It is arthavada. Please remember this word, arthavada. Okay, exaggeration. So just consider in your own life. Okay, many of the things that you said are correct. Some of these could be derivatives coming out of this concept of arthavada. Arthavada means exaggeration. Oh, Krishna is doing marketing in Bhagavad Gita. It's overhyped. If not Krishna, now who knows whether Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita or not? Acharyas have written Bhagavad Gita. Krishna Dvaipayana Vedavyas, he wrote Mahabharata, of which Bhagavad Gita is a part. Then later on, so many other saints and acharyas wrote commentaries. Maybe they're all exaggerating. Oh, bhakti is so, great. It will remove all miseries. It will do this. It will do that. It's overhyped. It is marketing ploy to get us to do bhakti. And as part of bhakti, then these people are inserting things like, you have to do worship, you have to give money, you have to, become my follower, become my disciple. Ultimately, it is all a marketing thing to gain money, followers, or just trick us. This is called arthavada, or considering bhakti to not have that many benefits as they are claimed. And we have seen such things happen in our material life. So many things, anything that we buy, this is the best product and this and that. And then we realize it wasn't as great as it was promised. We apply that way again, conditioning, willpower, all those things are there. But please consider in your life how much you are doubting Krishna's words about the power of bhakti. So it goes back to developing faith and removing doubts. So this doubt that bhakti is not as powerful. So lack of faith or presence of doubts is the faith killer. So we go back to the same point we have discussed in chapter 4 towards the end. What is the faith killer? In one word, what is the answer? Doubts. Doubts about the, in this case, power of bhakti. So we must remove our doubts about the power of bhakti. How can bhakti be so powerful? Okay. And one of the things that, for example, I have been sort of in a journey over the last, I would say 1 year or so, is to clarify my personal doubts on the power of holy name. I have been going deeper and deeper myself into, all the possible vectors and trying to get an understanding and removing all doubts on the power of name, which is one of the limbs of bhakti. So it is very, very, very important to go through that process of eliminating doubts. And as you eliminate doubts, smaller and smaller and smaller doubts arise, but the curve is in general going down. Okay, the mega doubts get resolved, fewer doubts, smaller level doubts remain smaller, 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 and then you become very, very surgically, you want to eliminate every doubt. That is the process that one must go through. And have complete, at the end, the result should be that one has complete faith on the power of bhakti. And not consider it like exaggeration. So somewhere in our heart, we feel that it's not really that powerful. No, it is powerful. We are not applying it fully in our lives with full seriousness and sincerity. And that's why we are not able to see the results. And we cannot blame bhakti for that. We have to blame ourselves that we are not applying it properly. Yes, Ragatmika Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, there is a question. So this happens with the four types of people who do bhakti, and not, of course, not with the four people who cannot do, four kinds of people who cannot do bhakti, right? I'm talking about the Naradhamas and those people. They definitely don't fall here. This is only the four kind of people who are jigyasu, and those are the people who goes through these doubt, or arthavada happens to them.
No, I don't know why you are connecting that. That is just saying that those are the four kinds of people that come to Krishna. Now, among those, there may be some who very quickly get convinced on the power of bhakti and begin to follow it as, the singular goal of their life. So that is just saying the four kinds of people. Nowhere there is no connection between the fact that those four mentioned in 7.16, Artha, Artharthi, Jigyasu, and Jnani, are all having this arthavada or some kind of doubts, or having...
The chances of having these doubts will come only on those four types of people.
Okay. So, yes, to some extent, maybe you are right, but I could also say that they are simply not aware. Doubts may be there. Doubts come when you, or at least the arthavada aspect comes when you are made aware of the power of bhakti, but you don't believe it. If you're not even aware of the power of bhakti, then there is no question of believing or not believing. Okay.
And this doubt elevation is anartha nivritti in the terminology of Madhurya Kidambini. Is that what we are talking about? Or I'm mixing up too many things?
I think so. Let's keep it simple.
Okay, Babuji.
Okay. So, what do they attain? They attain repeated birth and death. That is, which is basically those who reject bhakti out of their doubts, out of ashraddha, they come back or they stay in the material plane, even though the focus of the verse is that they are performing bhakti, but with ashraddha, just doing it mechanically. So mechanical bhakti does not yield results. Now, acharyas say that it yields results, but it takes very long time. Very long time. So it's not like it does not yield results, but for quick results, one must perform bhakti with utmost shraddha or sincerity and seriousness. Otherwise, one continues to be in this cycle of birth and death for a long time. Now, I put in some new slides for how to develop faith, how to develop that. So, what is the answer? Just one or two devotees.
Sadhu Sangha, Prabhuji.
Okay, let's see. Anybody else? Yes, Vijay Lakshmi Mataji, you wanted to.
Chanting.
Chanting, but the question is how to do chanting with lot of shraddha? That is the question. Chanting is bhakti, but the question is how to develop the shraddha in chanting, considering chanting as a limb of bhakti. Yes, Raj Vidya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So there are many methods going given. I mean, the name, how to develop name, faith in the name. So we can just look at the mantra and read it as if we are reading it for the first time. That generates some faith. We may those four things, Parakir and Gunanam, Roop Leela. So we can focus on one of those things and do it, and then.
All those can be done mechanically.
Sorry.
It is possible that one does those things, what you are saying, mechanically or with a shraddha. What you are telling is the how to.
Yeah.
Prabhu, surrendering the Krishna without doubt and almost with or anybody satsanga, it's also very important to do that. Surrendering the Krishna is very important without any doubt. That is in my understanding, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Experience also. Some.
Thank you. Yeah, so the question is how to surrender to Krishna with faith, how to develop that faith. Yes, anybody else? Yes, Mataji or Prabhuji?
Yeah, circumstance.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, understanding the meaning of the mantra, the why am I doing this? Why is this important?
All right. Okay, very good. Yes. So understanding the why, the theory or the philosophy, the tattva, as we would say, behind it. Good. Yes, Shamlila Mataji and then Meera Mataji, and then we'll move on.
Prabhuji, hearing from someone who can resolve your doubts and also actively asking them. Like if you're just chanting but you don't know what the 10 offenses are, then that may not help. But having someone who can resolve and tell you, okay, that is an offense that you're committing, try not doing that. Maybe that will deepen your faith as your doubts are resolved with that active process.
Very good. Yes, Meera Mataji.
I was going to say start with something, I mean, small, whatever faith you have in the beginning, and with an open mind and keep your eyes and ears open for some reciprocation, and then that will deepen your faith. That virtuous cycle thing that you were talking about a few minutes ago.
Okay, very good. Yes. So again, no wrong answers. Just as a counter question to you, Meera Mataji, since others may have the same. Like somebody was mentioning, so we do see some reciprocation, and then, let's say, or the reciprocation doesn't occur within the time frame we expect. Oh, I'm doing for 1 week. 1 week is too long and I didn't get. And then one may lose faith. So the time frame, what the results will be, what are our past samskaras, and simply the sweet will of the Lord may happen in different quantity, different time frame for different sadhakas. So how to maintain or increase or even develop faith from a zero level in all those cases. So yes, many devotees.
Smaranam, Prabhuji.
Sorry?
Smaranam.
Smaranam. Okay, but the question is how to develop faith in Smaranam.
By dovetailing all activities in his service.
Okay, so let's move forward. Okay, so again, this question is answered by Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his explanation of the 9 stages of bhakti, which start with Shraddha. But Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states that initial Shraddha, that is mentioned. So first is Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, etc. But before Shraddha comes the initial or the preliminary stage of Sadhu Sangha. So how to develop faith is by associating with those who have strong and genuine faith. That is the more. Now there are many other ways to increase or develop our faith, but this I want to mention as one of the very prominent and very strong or very certain and very potent ways of developing faith. It doesn't mean that this is the only one, but this is a very potent way of developing faith, is to associate with those who have strong faith in what? That's the next question. Faith in Shastra. What does Shastra tell us? To do certain activities, to have a certain, and next stage is have a certain state of mind. So bhakti is done by BMW, body, mind, and words. So there are the words of Krishna that tell us how to do bhakti with our BMW, with our body, mind, and words. So having faith in the Shastra on how to execute bhakti, and having faith in Krishna's words and his plans for us. So not getting discouraged when things don't go as we expect or in the time frame we expect, for example. So having faith in Krishna's words in Shastra. All Shastra emanates from Krishna. The Vedas emanate from Krishna. Bhagavad Gita emanated from Krishna. Mainly the Shrutis. Now there are the Smritis, but within the Smritis there are Shrutis. So many places in the Srimad Bhagavatam directly Krishna is speaking. He spoke the Uddhav Gita. He spoke so many things in the Srimad Bhagavatam as well. And of course, devotees also speak. So having faith or developing the faith by associating with those who already have faith. And then I want to qualify a little bit more. This first two bullets may be very standard or cliche, or you might have seen many times, but I want to give more context. One should look for this faith in those devotees who have faith in trying situations. It's easy to demonstrate faith when everything is going well. But in trying situations, that comes out more strongly. It's much easier. Now, it's not that easy, but it's easier to communicate faith just through words or by theatrics or by other things, and people get impressed, maybe temporarily inspired, but very, very strong inspiration comes when you see them in action in their own life. So observing them, looking at them as to how they deal. And that is the reason, for example, why the disciples of Srila Prabhupada take so much effort to write Prabhupada Leelamrit, for example, or to share personal situations about Srila Prabhupada, for example. So many disciples have shared what is known as the Memories series. It tells how Prabhupada, day to day, he dealt with situations in his life. There were setbacks, there were problems. In every single situation, he dealt with like a pure devotee should deal with. And many examples, and that is why reading about the lives of devotees is very important. It's very important to hear what they say. That's very important, no doubt. Also, it is very important to see how they conduct their lives as in how they deal with problems in their lives. So therefore, reading about devotees, how they lived their lives, what problems came in their lives, what did they do in those situations is so important. So important. And then our faith develops. So reading from Bhaktamal and many other such sources increases or develops our faith. So, but nothing like real live example in front of our eyes. Yes, we can read about them in books or hear about them in classes or through others. Now, most of us here, I don't think there are any Srila Prabhupada disciples in the call here on Zoom. So I'm assuming most of us or all of us have not seen Srila Prabhupada in action, right? So all we have is books plus narrations by others. So that's good. That's very good. But also it's very important to actually see in action through our own eyes. And for that, we must also try to actually find and identify those devotees in our contemporary life, those who are living right now in 2025, and try to associate with them. So associating through books, their biographies, their narrations by others is great. Also, one should try to have in-person physical, or physical means like in-person association. So let's say you were able to know how to find and identify is a big topic. I'm not going to go into that. It's a hard thing. If you cannot, then fall back to the previous one. But if you can, it will be a huge inspiration, a huge boost in your faith development if you are able to find and identify such a person, a living person. What to do after that? Let's say you identified such a person. Then what? So let's move forward. What you should do after you find such a person, that's like, you have found a gold mine. Or you stumbled on, something way too precious, a touchstone or something like that. At that point, you should drop everything to get their association. Do anything and everything to get their association as up close as possible. That is why when, those devotees who were so close to Srila Prabhupada were so lucky, and I would say they were not lucky, they were able to identify and realize the importance of that and gave everything up to get the close association of Srila Prabhupada. The others may have had the opportunity, but they missed it. They may not have realized the sheer importance of it or the benefit to be obtained from it. And so maybe they lost out on that opportunity. So if you find somebody like that, then give up everything else to get their association. And serve them. Serve them with all your capacity. And serve them how? Serve them in a way that helps them in their bhajan. And become their favorite disciple or their favorite servant. Snigdha Shishya. Why? We will see that in a second. And observe their bhajan and their conduct. And like one of the devotees, I think it was Shyamlila Mataji, I think, was saying, ask meaningful questions. And take their instructions or whatever answers they give extremely seriously. That also goes without saying, because the easiest way to lose their association is to seek instructions and then ignore them. So of course, I think that if one has given up so much to get that association, one would probably at that point, one is so serious that one would execute those instructions also very nicely. But that's just a warning that, don't, yeah. So the warning also is that this is not easy and it's very hard in Kali Yuga, especially in a place that is not a established dham. Having association of such pure devotees is not easily possible. But if it is possible, then one must do everything to grab it, like as if one has stumbled on a touchstone or a gold mine. And if you find such a person, then become and stay a snigdha shishya. Try to get into the inner circle, as they say. Become as close as possible. Why? Because the Guru will reveal the deepest truths to such disciples by their words and actions. You first of all get to witness how they go about in their life, and you will get the deepest answers. Now, this is also hinting on the point why Guru is important, because Guru will not speak anything outside of Shastra, but the Shastra has general instructions. Plus, if one is deeply reading Shastra, one will find lot of, because we are not clear and we don't understand the context, we will think that, oh, this is contradictory points in the Shastra. Who will resolve those contradictions? The Guru will resolve those contradictions. If you think that there are no contradictions in Shastra, even just Bhagavatam itself, I assert you have not read Bhagavatam deeply. You start reading or studying, you will arrive at so many points. Wait a minute, here it is saying this, and this is the meaning I draw from it. But that other verse said this, and the meaning I drew from that is contradicting this one. So either you have not read it that deeply, or if you read it and study it, you will find contradictions. Then who will resolve those? What is the deep understanding? So, and sometimes the deep understanding is something that Guru cannot talk in public. I will tell you that. In a general public class, it may not be possible. Then you may ask a question, they will give some answer in public. Then they will call you private, and then they will say, one more point to your question, this is the answer. If they feel like connected or close to you, that is the benefit you will get. So this is how one should seek association of such devotees. And this is, I'm not going to go through the verse, brūhyū snigdhasya shishyasya guravo guhyam apyuta. You can look this up, 1.1.8, a very important verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. On the benefit of becoming a snigdha shishya is that you get the confidential, the secret answers, which are not obvious simply from outside. So this is how one can build faith. And there is an and. So it's not like now Guru has to become your 24/7 answering machine. Every little thing you run to Guru. No. Only for the most, even if you are in the inner circle, you should be very sensitive to the demand or, all that. So you must put in your own effort to understand, to remove doubts. It is said has 4 parts. Anybody knows those 4 parts?
Prabhuji, time, understanding from Guru, swadhyay, And
Very
fourth
good.
one I can't remember. It was in Hari Pasha Prabhu's class, but I can't remember it now.
So, and there is a sequence also. Okay. So first is swadhyaya. You must make, and it's a 25% of understanding. So very nice, by the way, very nice. 25% of the understanding comes by first trying to unpack the understanding yourself. Do your homework, as they say. Don't ask the teacher a question without first doing your own homework. Okay. So that is swadhyaya. Second is discussion with peers. Because somebody else, now you need to have those peers. So somebody else may have got some realization, and then you discuss cross pollination or group discussing with peers in a group or one-on-one, whatever. And the third one is through guru. So again, first two are part of your homework. The third one, then you approach guru. Still, it may not sink in. Okay. And the fourth one, the fourth 25%. So all these are 25% each. The fourth one is time. After some time, or the ultimate guru, who is the ultimate guru? Chaitya Guru, the guru in your heart, which is Paramatma. So in time, the full understanding, the final 25% will come. So this is the sequence. There is a sequence also, and time is the last one. You may do the first three, you may get 75% understanding, and still some lingering doubts may be there. And then finally, with time, those understandings are resolved. So some of those things in the first two, 25%, first two are your own study. And study of what? Even I'm putting the names of the Shastra, Bhagavatam and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Very, very important Shastra. So that's the reason we are doing Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. At least the Eastern division is part of Bhakti Shastri. We will do Bhagavatam, very important. And I would add a third book or text to this, which is Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, very important. And best if it is done under guidance. So through peers, because there will be doubts. If you're doing serious study, there will be doubts. Then you need somebody to resolve and give you true answers, not answers which are what you call diplomatic answers or politically correct answers. Because sometimes, if you ask in a public forum, even the seniors have to, keep a lot of perspectives in mind. But therefore, you have to cultivate those close relationships with gurus, whether it is Diksha Guru or Shiksha Gurus, to whom you can go ask confidentially and get deep answers. And then personal practice of Nam. Okay, whether it is Nam, Japa or Kirtan, and whether the Jap is loud or soft. So I have not qualified, but very serious means Adar Purna, regular Anudinam, and offenseless Niraparad Harinam. Very, very important. And this can be done also under guidance, but not as much guidance is needed as for the previous one. Previous one needs more guidance. This one needs less guidance. One needs to learn the proper method of doing japa. Like I think somebody was saying, looking at the words or the letters or some other aspects of how to do japa. Recently, Haripashad Prabhu is going through this whole series of Shikshashtakam, but the meaning of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, there are multiple meanings. So focusing, somebody also said, putting the meaning of the mantra in the mind. So what is the meaning that one should take? And there are multiple levels of, so all those things are to be considered. So some guidance may be needed for very high quality Harinam. So all these things help to develop faith. And one last thing, very important, very, very important, is to reduce material entanglements. One must make efforts to reduce material entanglements, because the more material entanglements there are, the more distraction there will be in all of the above. All of the above. During Harinam, during Swadhyaya, and like we said, in the process of leaving everything and completely serving the pure devotee, if you have too many entanglements, by definition, it is going against being able to serve those devotees, to associate with them with full capacity, if your capacity is being divided across all your entanglements. So try to reduce material entanglements. Helps in all of the above. Okay. All right. Any questions? We'll go to the next one. Yeah. Looking at the notes. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go on for some more time. We have 10 minutes. So next section is about Lord Krishna's greatness. Okay. And this is the section where his greatness is kind of being shown to the maximum in this chapter 9. There will be other chapters where his greatness is shown, but those are due to the questions of Arjuna. As you will see in chapter 10, Opulences of the Absolute, Lord Krishna describes some 80 odd vibhutis, but that is as a result of Arjuna's question. Then he shows the entire universal form in chapter 11, again as a result of Arjuna's request. But here, Lord Krishna is describing his Aishwarya or his greatness to contrast it with his sweetness. As we said, this chapter is mainly about this Lord Krishna describing his sweetness to inspire us to love him, not just to surrender to him out of God is great and I must surrender to the great God. That may be definitely, that's a good mood, very nice mood. But an even nicest mood is to surrender in love, out of simply sheer love for Bhagavan. Either it can be love like a, servant. Again, it's easy to think about love as a conjugal lover or as a parent or as a friend. Servant love. Think of that kind of servant who is serving the master out of love, not out for salary, for recognition, or even duty. And whenever the servant comes in mind, the easiest way to clarify that what is this kind of servant is what example?
Hanumanji.
Hanumanji, yes. So Hanumanji is not serving Lord out of any other motive other than love. And it is not a love of friendship. It is not a love of parenthood. It is not a love of obviously conjugal. It is servant. But again, there is maximum love there. So that kind of love out of servant, and of course others also, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. But the most important aspect is to develop the love. And to help us to develop that, Lord is just going to describe his sweetness, his love for us. Before he does that, he is describing his Aishwarya. So, Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that this section 9.4 to 9.10, 7 verses, all right, contains all the necessary aspects of Bhagwan's Aishwarya that a Gaudiya Vaishnav devotee needs to know. So in Gaudiya Vaishnav Sampradaya, we don't focus that much on Aishwarya of Bhagwan. We focus on the sweetness of Bhagwan. But parallelly with the knowledge that this Bhagwan, this person whom we are loving is none other than Bhagwan. And we all know Bhagwan means the great. Bhagavan means possessor of all greatness or all opulences is Bhagavan. Like we say Dhanvan, Buddhivan. No, I don't think Buddhivan is a word. Dhanvan. What other vans are there? Anyway, so like that, Bhagavan. Okay, so so the Aishwarya aspects of Bhagwan that are mentioned here are of these types. So I'll just kind of list some of these from my mind, from these verses, that he is all-pervading. He's present everywhere in all of cosmic creation. He's present everywhere. Also, the whole cosmic manifestation is present within him. So he is like he engulfs the entire cosmic manifestation. He's inside everything. He's outside everything. He's the supreme controller. He controls everything. He protects and he maintains everything. And he directs everything. Everything is happening according to his direction. If he wants, he can change the direction at any time. Okay. He can even change, like we say, laws of physics cannot be changed. We use that term in common language. Oh, no, this is a law of physics, which means that's something that even a very powerful person cannot change. But Bhagwan can change that. In so many cases, Bhagwan has bended the laws of physics. If, for example, Prahlad Maharaj was put in fire. Now, if you put something in fire, it will burn. But the devotee didn't burn. So, or when he was thrown from the mountain, gravity didn't work. And so on. So, Bhagwan, whenever he wants, generally, laws of physics apply. But the point is, he is controlling those laws. So, sometimes or whenever he wants, he's so... Even the laws of physics, we say there are two kinds of laws. Laws of physics and the laws of a state. Generally, we think of those two kinds of laws. Laws of physics, nobody can change. Laws of the state can be bent, like you have presidential pardons, that's like bending the law. Even a criminal can be pardoned by the will of the king. So he can bend the law. But in Krishna's case, there is no law of physics. Everything is like a law of a state. If he desires, he can, all those laws are subject to Krishna's will. And finally, he is achintya. He is inconceivable, or if we try to figure him out, if we try to make sense with our little brains, it will be impossible. So we cannot figure him out. So these are some of the points that are covered in the next 7 verses. So we will, I think in the remaining 5 minutes, I think we can go over for 5 minutes, maybe. Or we'll cover this next time. Yeah, so we'll cover this next time. I'll just go over this slide. That like I said, don't try to figure me out, Krishna says. Okay. And you can understand Krishna to the extent he reveals to you. This is a very nice example given by Srila Prabhupada. Like a very rich father, he may have so many factories. And if his child wants to know how my father is running all these factories, he will not be able to understand. But if he asks his father, take me to one of the factories, the father will happily take the child to one of the factories and show him how it works. But still, it will not make the child understand all the workings. It can make the child understand whatever is possible to the extent that the father reveals. And the child becomes very happy that so the child also, a true loving child, is not interested in figuring out the father. He just becomes happy to know that my father is so wonderful, that he's running all these factories. And I could see a small glimpse of how he is running them. So that is sort of the sense here. And in next slide I have is paradoxes. So we'll cover that next time, but a very clear paradox is given in the first two verses. So he says, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matsthani sarva bhutani na chaham teshu avasthitaha. And the next verse he says, na cha matsthani bhutani. So you can see a direct opposite. In the previous verse he says, matsthani sarva bhutani. And in the next verse he says the exact opposite, not na cha matsthani bhutani. So which one it is? Which means matsthani sarva bhutani means that everything is in me. And in the next verse he's saying everything is not in me. So is everything in Krishna or is everything not in Krishna? It cannot be both. Those two statements, as we say scientifically, are mutually exclusive. So when two statements are mutually exclusive, only one of them can be true, right? Logically. But logic doesn't apply to Krishna. Both of them are true at the same time, and that is why Krishna is inconceivable or cannot be understood. Another paradox is there from the first line, Maya tatam idam sarvam, that by me everything is pervaded, which means I pervade everything or I am inside everything. Next line, and Jagat Avyakta Murtina, everything in this Jagat through my Avyakta Murtina or by my unmanifested form. And then he says, Matsthani Sarva Bhutani, everything is in me. So either he is in everything or everything is in him. How can both be true? Do you follow? Like we say, either you are in the house or the house is in you. How can both be true? I don't know how the house can be in you. Maybe you shrink the house and you eat it, then it becomes in you, let's just say. But if the house is inside you, then how can you be inside the house? Not possible, right? How can both be true? So there's a paradox in the first one, and there's another paradox between the first verse and the next one. So it's these two verses are like full of paradoxes. And the resolution to these paradoxes is given in the second line of 9.5. Pashya me yogamaishwaram. That is the resolution. Lord Krishna says his devotees think like this, or he tells his devotees, Pashya me yogamaishwaram. Just look at this mystic power and be happy. Stay with the paradox and be happy that my sweet Lord has paradoxes. What is the fun in having a God who has no paradoxes? Tell me. See, God has to have everything, no? If he doesn't have something, then he is not, Purnam. So God has to be complete. So completeness in Bhagavan will come when there is nothing which is not in him, including paradoxes. So we enjoy the fact, as devotees, we smile on the fact that my Lord has paradoxes also. And that is the meaning of Pashyame Yogam Aishwaram, that look and enjoy or relish my mystic power. And then he goes on to mention this, another paradox. Mama atma bhūta-bhāvanaḥ. And then he says that I am not part of this manifestation, but I am controlling it, or it comes from me. So this whole manifestation comes from the will, mama atma, from my will. So Bhagavan simply wills and the manifestation occurs. How that happens? Has anybody been able to, in our material world, can you produce anything simply by your will? Not possible. We cannot. So many contradictory or not even contradictory or unimaginable things. So only a very, very great person who has these inconceivable mystic powers, can have these, potentially have these properties or have these characteristics. And that is the Bhagavan we are talking about. So like I said, like Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, and like Srila Prabhupada says, these verses from 9.4 to 9.10 are showing the Aishwarya of Bhagavan, or his greatness or opulence. So we will continue on that next time. Yeah, 6th verse is simply showing that Lord is giving an example of the wind in the sky. So is wind in the sky or sky is in the wind? Wind or air? Now again, our modern understanding of the atmosphere and space has kind of will confuse your thinking. But forget the fact that, beyond this atmosphere, there is space. Just think that there is wind, right? Or air, not wind, but air. And there is space. So both are, if you think of it just that much, that around you, there is air and there is space. Which one is inside who? Is wind in the space, or space is in the, or is wind in the air, or air is in the wind? It's hard to quantify. Now in the material world, you cannot find an example like that, because that example or that paradox is only present in Bhagavan. But this paradox comes pretty close. That is air in space, or space is within the air, or kind of like that. So that is the meaning of verse 6. Understand that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests in the sky, all created beings rest in me. So the air is everywhere, yet it rests in the sky. So if it is resting in the sky in a particular place, how can it be everywhere? That is the paradox, the example. Okay. All right, so we'll stop here till 9.6. We'll start from 9.7 next time. Next Friday. So today only we had Saturday. We'll go back to Friday schedule next week onwards. All right. Any questions? Okay. Then we will stop here. And I thank you for attending, and we'll see you next time. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare.
Hare Krishna, Mata. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you so much.